what are some of the biggest mistakes that you see professional single women making on their dating journey?
The mistakes are different in nature, but they all have the same source, and that is going into it unprepared. And
Right.
so if you don't ever do anything to even examine that, we go out into the dating world carrying all that baggage. Because a lot of times our list is just a list of things that we haven't dealt with in ourselves. And learning about what you may have on your wish list that's probably a little unrealistic, or what you need to add to your list that you didn't even realize was important to you. So the process is so important. So our best bet is to learn how to enjoy that process. They basically want me to remove the process. And I'm like, baby, I wish I could, but I don't. And I don't want to, because there's so much that you gain from actually doing the process. And another thing that happens when you work on yourself, when you deal with that, when you actually do the healing work, that list of all the must-haves for a future spouse, a mate, whatever, it shrinks.
Ask the Good Doctor. I'm Dr. LaJoyce Brookshire on Sirius XM Urban View, Channel 126, where talk empowers and becomes action. I just want you for one moment to talk about the choice, Tracy.
The choice, it absolutely. I'm so glad you said that. It's not something that just you're gonna just stumble up on. It is really a learned and practiced behavior, and you have to choose it every day. When those thoughts start coming up, you have to literally speak to it. You have to literally say something to get yourself back in the moment. Because if you don't, you'll just start spiraling. Just like with anything that you want. If you were considering going back to school, you have to make a conscious choice. Okay, I'm going back to school. Let me see what I need to do. Or if you say, hey, I want to, I don't know, learn how to fly a plane, you got to say, okay, I need to go where I need to go. Well, the same thing with dating. Don't just hop up and just go do it. You need to learn some stuff, especially if you haven't dated in a while. Dating should be fun. That's why I'm really big on, you have to do the work so that dating can be fun again.
Yeah.
If dating is a chore, you will find yourself in a lot of predicaments, that you may not want to, because now you're doing it out of like a survival mentality or a scarcity mentality. Okay, let's set up the timeline. You met somebody while you were still carrying baggage and broken.
Right.
Okay. And you didn't have all the tools you needed. So that person is attracted to that brokenness in you, And so then you get to the point, you're working also with a coach or some sort of person, and you're changing and you're setting boundaries and you're making declarations and you're discovering things, and that's not attractive to them anymore. They don't have that shoe in, to get in there, because you're putting a brick wall up. At first it was easy to have their way with you, and now you're growing and you're blossoming, you're becoming, and that's not attractive to a user. That's not attractive to a person who doesn't have your best interest at heart. And to unpack some of that baggage, some of that heaviness, some of the emotional weight that they're carrying, have been carrying even before, especially before all of this even hit. So we really unpack a lot of that, and it allows them the opportunity to have more bandwidth for the now. When you kind of get rid of some of that stuff, it creates a little more opportunity, a little more capacity to deal with now in a healthier way. Unforgiveness anywhere is unforgiveness everywhere. And really anything, if it's fear that you have in your heart, if it's any type of emotion that you have, can be triggered and pop up anywhere else in your life. And then there's personal accountability, to own their part in a way that they can stop worrying about what does it look like for the other person. Like what if they never own theirs, you still accountable and responsible to own yours.
Yes.
And no buts about it. No deflections. No, well, I did this, but the moment you say the but, you are losing accountability, and you're getting out of this zone of accountability and ownership and into the zone of blame and fighting. And just sometimes the generational pattern, because I think when we think curses, sometimes we get super spiritual, but it could just be a pattern of how you've learned how to handle conflict, which is don't.
That's
so. So when you say that umbrella of self-worth, we got to really examine what all falls under there, and one of the things that falls under there is having a voice. you know, and being okay with losing someone because you speak up. If I lose you because I set a boundary, then you didn't need to be there in the first place. One of the things we need from our parents, we need it modeled for us, and we need it done in the actual parent-child relationship, is knowing how to restore the relationship after conflict. And I know in the house I grew up in, it was like, I don't care about how you feel, just go do what I said. You know, and so it took some outside influence for me to learn how to acknowledge conflict and then handle the conflict and then say, oh, and we're okay now that it's over, you know, or it's okay if we have to part ways.
But one thing you introduced into that experiment was online dating.
You know what? First and foremost, I would tell women or anybody really, quit treating online dating like it's any different from meeting somebody at the Kroger, okay? Because you can meet a clown at Kroger, you can meet him on Match.com. I mean, it just is what it is. So you're gonna have to come up and show up as your full and your best self and your real authentic self, and you will attract real.
Multiple dating.
Yay! Yay for multiple dating. Yes, and it's gonna be hard to do. Oh, it's so good and juicy. You can't. The reason so many women struggle with multi-dating, like, oh, I could never, because they see it in the lens of the brokenness. And if you're broken and trying to find somebody to lick your wounds, that's very personal. That's very vulnerable. I don't want 10 or 12 men exposed to my wounds. I want to find that one man, make him fit into my mold and lick these wounds. Okay. And the reality is, if you're opposed to multi-dating, I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm just saying you may need to go examine the deeper issues associated with why you are against it. The level of vulnerability that you're trying to give to some random guy is not feasible. It's not even healthy. It ain't healthy at all, but it's really not healthy when you talk about, let me add 4 or 5 guys in the mix. If you haven't had anybody to really help you build a profile, then do that. And then my second thing is safety. One of my clients calls my little safety protocol like the CIA of dating. She was like, because I go through a whole litany of, okay, do this, don't do that, do this, don't do that, do this, to protect your safety. Every 100%, we seek all sorts of ways to affirm our bias. But if that's all you're around, you will never get out of that cycle of all women suck, all men suck, all relationships suck. You got to get yourself in some kind of way exposure to some alternative thought process. If you're looking to be married or have a healthy relationship, and this is for men and women both, get around people who are happily, healthily married. Mm-hmm. You might have to get way out your comfort zone to do so. I don't believe in ghosting. I think that's emotional abuse, especially if you've invested time and energy in that person, then you just up literally. Can you imagine one of your family members, you just up and don't hear from them anymore ever? You know, you've been talking to them daily. Y'all been going out, hanging out, a family member, you know. And then you just up and don't hear from them. You're literally calling the police and doing a wellness check.
But Tracy, what in your work have you seen with the people who have been forced to be isolated, who are single? I know that your relationship work is equally as balanced. You do this work as a therapist for single people. How has that been affecting them?
Yeah, so a lot of them are really struggling right now, you know, with the anxiety of what, you know, it was already a level of anxiety or concern, you know, if I'm ever going to find a partner, if I'm going to be, you know, alone forever and that type of thing. So we work through those things. But then when you compound it with this, they're like, you know, how will I meet anybody? How will I even go on dates? How will I do, you know, make these real connections with people? I don't trust the internet, you know, and so it's a lot of, as he stated, compounded things that are coming to the forefront, and their hearts are heavy. It's been a real rise in anxiety, you know, with my clients, and just anxious about the future and just not knowing what to expect from one day to the next. So we're working through that. They're just in your ear telling you,
that's good,
you know, affirming how you feel. That's just the beginning though, boo. That's
Yeah.
not the full expense of healing. So don't be surprised if you listen to them for a year and still find yourself in the same boat, because all you've heard over and over again is, yeah, he did you wrong. Yeah, she didn't treat you right. Yeah, she should have appreciated you. Yeah, he should have did this. And hearing that for a year fixes nothing. They don't fix anything. So just be mindful as you're finding who you want to talk to.
That's
Who
good.
you want to open your ear to.
Yeah, that's good.
Because we're hungry. We want to hear it. For a lot of us, before a good Steve Harvey opened his mouth, we didn't know what men was thinking. And so we were so like intrigued. Oh, is this how men think? Oh my God. So it's, you know, there is a market for it. I just want the people to be informed that that's not the end result. That's not the end game.
Sure.
Yeah, it's just not the end game. You know, be entertained, be affirmed, feel your feelings with these people. But if at some point you're going to have to say, it's time for me to stop mourning, stop grieving, stop pitying, stop replaying this situation over and over again in my head, and go get help.